Quasi here, and in this video, I want to share with you the number one reason why 99% of people don't succeed. And why they don't succeed is the same reason why 1% of people do actually succeed. And once I understood this one concept, it completely changed my life. Okay, I want to share with you what the concept is, but also by the end of this video, I want to share with you tools so that you can use to apply this concept in your life. Okay. Before I begin this video, I want to quickly announce that a couple of spots have opened up for the free one-to-one consult with me and my team for the Reality Mastery program. So just wait till the end of the video for the announcement on how to sign up for that. And with that, let's get started. So today I want to talk to you about this one thing that actually is responsible for the success of 1% of individuals, okay? And simply put, this one concept is intention, okay? But most people don't really understand what intention means. And that's why when you don't have awareness around what it actually is, when you don't have awareness around your problems start to tug you by these unconscious strings, okay? So let's really dive right into it. Now, most people are always inconsistent in their internal state. Okay, let's say you begin with an intention. Let's start off with a loose definition of intention, how most people would define it. You know, most people think intention is, okay, I choose to do this. I make the decision to do this, which is fairly accurate, right? But in this decision that they make, they're very, very inconsistent, okay? What do I mean by this? What I mean is inconsistent. I forgot to spell for a second. What I essentially mean is you have this intention, you make this decision, you go out to do it, something happens, some external obstacle pops up, makes you doubt yourself, and then you move back, okay? You start to waver in your intention. So for most, what it really looks like is, let's say we have your internal thoughts, attitudes, emotions, okay? Internal world. And this is what you're seeing in the physical equivalent, the external world. Okay? You make this decision initially, you're like, I'm going to go out and achieve this, I'm going to go out and do that. Makes you feel good. You're like, yes, everything's going well, fantastic. Now you go out to do something. Your internal will shape your external. Okay? This is how it works. Okay? If you look at the previous video I did here on the mirror principle and how your internal thoughts and attitudes shape your external world, that video will show you that. But your internal thoughts and attitudes shape your external world, but it doesn't happen immediately. Okay, it just happens with a delay because of how the nature of this external reality is. And now what happens is because you don't respect this delay, you don't understand this delay, you become impatient. So with all the efforts that you're putting in and you're not seeing the results for it, you're like, ah, shit, it doesn't work. Now what happens is when you say, ah, shit, it doesn't work, that becomes your new internal attitude. So the current state of the external world feeds back into your internal world. You don't respect the challenges that are coming up, and you don't take it as challenges, but you take it as failures, meaning if it doesn't happen now, it will never happen. Okay? That's essentially how the mind works. The mind thinks, oh, if something is going wrong now, that means everything will go wrong. That's the worst case scenario projection, how we get attached to it. Okay? So when your external world influences your internal attitudes, it becomes a dangerous game. Okay? It can become a great game, but for most it becomes a dangerous game because now you're subject to what's happening outside. Okay? This cycle is the very reason why the rich get richer and the poor get poorer. Okay? The rich get richer because they look at wealth outside and they're like, everything's going well. And then they get richer. The poor get poorer because they look at, oh, look, everything's going wrong. I have all of these bills and things that need to be taken care of. My business isn't doing well. It's just sinking. It influences their internal state, which then, the mirror of reality, it reflects it. Okay? The internal influences the external. So this is the dangerous cycle, the cycle that keeps happening for most. Okay? So the question becomes, you know, how does intention relate to this? So let's define intention in a new way. Right? Intention now is your resolve to have an act. Okay? Your resolve. What do I mean by that? It's the resoluteness in your decision. You make a decision. How resolute are you in this decision? Will something shake you off this decision? Is your internal world intact or is it subject to change? Okay? That's what I mean by intention. This can be broken down into two different types of intentions. The inner intention that you have to launch an attack on the world, and the outer intention, which is basically your resolve to have no matter what happens. I don't care what happens, somehow it's going to happen. Okay? That's the more powerful intention to have. Outer intention is the worldly intention that connects your individual layer of reality. Okay? Your layer of reality is what's going on in my world, am I taken care of, are my goals being achieved? Okay? That's your individual layer of reality. The greater layer of reality is nature, everything being kept harmonious, everything kept in balance. So nature will never bend its rules to give you your goal. It'll find a way to sort of work with its rules and not disrupt the balance, because nature is a perfect system. The universe is a perfect system. It'll never destroy itself. It'll never be in imbalance. This is just one of the laws of nature, which is balance. Okay? It will always preserve that balance to give you what you want. So outer intention is when you have the resolve to have. It doesn't matter if you're acting or not. It doesn't matter what happens. You make the decision to have. Nothing can stop you. When you can have that level of resolve, you'll become unstoppable. And recently I was looking at an interview to see, if this hypothesis is true, because, I started to form these hypotheses from my own experience, having these resolves, going out there and acting, doing what's necessary and not even seeing results, but still having that resolve somehow. And then I came across this interview with this YouTuber who basically grew his YouTube channel from 0 to 1 million subscribers within a year. And in the interview, he said, yeah, when I started my YouTube channel, I didn't know what was going to happen, right? But all I knew was I would keep trying. Either I'm going to get successful on YouTube, or I'm going to be 85, still making videos, trying to succeed until I die. Right? This is where the saying, get rich or die trying, comes from. When you have that level of resolve to become successful, to have what you want, nothing can stop you. Not even God can stop you. Okay? But it's so subtle, right? It doesn't really matter what the actions you take are. When you have that intensity in your internal state and you're completely unshakable in your resolve to have, nothing can stop you. Everything will start to fall into place. Okay? So I'm going to repeat that one more time. There are two types of intentions. There is the inner intention, and then there's the outer intention. The inner intention is to do with what you do. You acting and you launching an attack on the world. It's me versus the world. I'm going to take massive action and do it. You can achieve most of your goals that way, but it's usually a struggle. Outer intention is when somehow the world makes the goal happen for you. You meet the universe halfway. Okay? So outer intention is your resolve to have. You don't care about the means by which you achieve it. It just happens. Somehow it just happens on its own. This is the force that moved the pyramids, right? This is the force that allowed Jesus Christ to walk on water. It's outer intention. Him being so connected with the world and nature and everything, right? So most avatars, they're connected to this outer intention. Everyone has a connect to it. But we get egoic in our thinking and we become very little-minded. We're like, oh, I got to ensure my survival and everything is going well for me. When you constrict yourself to the boundaries of your body, that's when you start to act more and more towards inner intention. Because you think that I'm limited to my body and my mind. This is me. Anything outside this boundary is not me. When that becomes the case, you run into a myriad of trouble. Naturally, there's going to be fears. Naturally, there's going to be desires, because this piece of life will try to do anything to become one with everything around it, right? So that's where your material desires really come from. But that's a discussion for another day. But I want you to take away from this is the concept of intention and why it doesn't matter what actions you take. It doesn't really matter what you do. It matters what resolve you have. And is this resolve going to be shaken by anything? Okay? So instead of being all theoretical and talking about all of this, let's actually get into the tools of how you can cultivate a rock solid resolve so that you can be one of that 1% and no matter what happens, be unshaken by the challenges of life. So here are the 3 keys. Key number 1 most people miss out on, most people don't understand. This is 95% of the work, is finding clarity on what you want, getting clear on your goals. If you find clarity and get crystal clear on what you want and why you want it, everything is just going to fall into place. But most people aren't clear. They look at one direction, they're like, oh my God, should I do that? And should I do this? They get lost in the glamour of the shiny objects, right? They look at the next thing, they're like, oh my God, that's going to help me too. Ooh, I can do that as well. You know, as a business owner, when you start to look at all of those fancy shiny objects, your focus gets spread out into all these different directions as opposed to being in one direction. If you can focus on one direction for long enough, anything you want will materialize, right? Just like keeping your attention on one thing. If you have a limited amount of energy, assuming that we all have a limited amount of energy and time, if we use that energy and time to focus on getting really good at one craft, we're going to become the best in the world at it, as opposed to being the jack of all trades, master of none, right? So that's where clarity comes in, finding a powerful what and why, okay? What plus why. So if you think about all of the goals you have, most of them you can brush off, okay? Think about anything you want to really achieve. Most of them aren't important. They're just whims. You just get these whims daily. You're like, oh, you know, that would be nice to have. And that would be nice to have. It would be nice to have a great body. It would be nice to have a great relationship. It would be great to have nice to have a great car. But at the end of the day, you can brush off all of those. The true thing, the one thing that you can't brush off, and it's a persistent thought that keeps coming up. That's what your purpose is. That's how you find your purpose. Through elimination. You eliminate anything that's unnecessary. You try your best to eliminate everything. And once you've eliminated everything, you're going to find that one thing that keeps coming up to you. That's your what, okay? How you find out your why is you just ask questions around it. Like, why is this so important to me? Why do I want this? You know, what does my life look like once I've achieved this? Why? Why? And when you find out that powerful why that drives you every single day, then rest assured, you've become a lot more clearer than you were, right? So that's what we call the core emotional driver. We do this in our program, in the Reality Mastery program, in helping people develop clarity in their lives. But essentially, the why is so powerful because on days you don't feel motivated, when you think about that why and why you're doing this in the first place, that's how you cultivate that rock solid resolve, right? When days when I was almost going to give up making those YouTube videos and I was like, oh, there's no point. I'm not getting any customers. My business isn't growing. I'm making absolutely zero. The calls aren't closing. When I think about that why and I got started in the first place, my why was I don't want to be mediocre. I want to be extraordinary. And I kept doing it anyways, even though I didn't believe it, right? This is also why most people fail, because they veer towards belief as opposed to having this faith. So what having this resolve really means is having this kind of faith that is independent, okay? That is independent of what you're seeing right now. Belief literally means someone has done it, it's possible because someone else has done it, therefore I can do it. Faith is no one's ever done it before, but somehow it's going to happen. It's this inner knowingness that you achieve because you're so clear on what you want. Your heart and your mind are so in tuned. Okay? We're going to talk about that another day, the difference between faith and belief. But for now, I want you to get clear that finding your what and why will help you get a lot more clearer. Okay? Number 2, this is where most people fail. And I see a lot of entrepreneurs fail at this, right? When they get lost in the shiny objects. They lose sight of who they are in favor of what they're doing. Be first, do second. You focus on your being and your state of being. Who am I becoming? Who do I want to be? Who am I at this ultimate destination once I've achieved all of these things? Once the what and why have been achieved, then the who comes in. Who am I once I've achieved all of these goals? What does this version of me look like? What are the characteristics this version of me has? Am I humble? Am I braggy? Am I cocky? Am I giving? Am I taking? What sort of characteristics does this version of me have? What sort of values and virtues do I live by? This is crafting the 2.0 self. literally all we focus on in the program. Once you focus on being first, the actions naturally flow. Okay? Once you focus on being, the doing follows. So this is why most people take massive action and get little fruit from it. Because this action has no alignment to who they're becoming. Okay? They're not clear on who they need to become. So they excessively act as a compensation for that. You don't need to do much. I try to do as little as possible. And I just be most of the time. Okay? When you focus on being, then you start to become receptive to what you want. And then the path to it, the middle ground, so from the being to the what, manifesting, it bridges itself. The actions become clearer. It becomes clear to you that you need to do this. It becomes clear to you that you need to ignore all of those distractions. When you focus on being and understanding who you need to become, then the path starts to unfold and the doing shows up for you. And you don't need to do a million different things. You don't need to take massive action. You need to take the right actions. The right actions that'll help you get there. The most effective ones. Okay? That's number 2. Number 3, and this is probably one of the most powerful of them all, and this is what all successful people do. It's reframing events. The limited mind will always perceive events as either good or bad, right? It'll always perceive it like that. Like, oh, this event is good because it led to a direct benefit for me. Oh, I made so much YouTube videos, I reached out to XYZ amount of customers, and I prospected. This is good, right? This is good for me. But then they'll look at the result that they got from that, and they'll say, oh, I made this amount of videos, reached the X amount of customers, but I didn't get any result from it. This was bad. Okay? So what you want to do is reframe the events that happen. You cultivate a state of being, your attitude, your worldview. Okay? You cultivate a worldview via a statement that you live by, which could be, my world takes care of me. It's all part of the process. There is no such thing as failure or, success. There is only success. Okay? There is only success in the path that leads to success. This is what most successful people do. They don't view failures as failures. They view them as challenges, as lessons you need to learn in order to be successful. If you ask successful people what their biggest regrets are, they'll probably be like, I don't regret anything. Right? I don't really regret anything. It's because I had to do that to learn the lessons that I needed to learn. Okay? That's what I had to learn the hard way. The moment you let failure into your vocabulary, you've failed. There is no such thing as failure. You're baking a cake, right? The kitchen has to get dirty. You've got to make the mistakes to learn next time how to bake a better cake, and a better cake, and a better cake. Okay? The moment you start to think that time is limited, it's like you think that, oh my God, it's got to happen now. That's when you've fucked up, right? You put too much importance on this one thing. You put too much meaning on this one event, and that event starts to control your life. Okay? So this is what I mean by events and meaning. Having this one worldview where it's like failure doesn't even enter my book. I'm going to be successful. Okay, cool. These YouTube videos that I made weren't successful. These customers that I reached out to, they weren't successful. Cool. It'll lead me to becoming successful. Something will come out of it. I just can't see it yet. So this limited mind can't conceive of what the infinite mind has planned for it. So this is your limited mind that's constricted by the boundaries of your body. This is the infinite mind that's prepping your order, right? Infinite. There are some things that you just don't understand. And when more information becomes available, that's when it makes sense. So many times I was like, oh man, this probably wasn't good. I failed here. But the next month from my failures came a lot of successes. Like, oh my God, good thing I reached out to that person last month. They started watching my videos and then they became a client, right? So it's as simple as that, but we just don't, when you put a bad meaning on it, what happens is basically you shift to a lifeline that's negative. When your internal attitude becomes, this was a failure, more events start to happen in your external world, because this gets reflected, this internal attitude gets reflected. More events start to happen in your external world which reflect failure. Okay? That's why it's so dangerous to have a negative attitude. The worst thing you can do for yourself is have a negative attitude. Okay? And with that, I conclude this video. Thank you so much for watching. I sincerely hope this was helpful. Let's do a quick recap of what we talked about today. Today we talked about the number one thing that makes people successful. The 1%ers, if you will. And it's just intention. But most people are inconsistent in their intentions. They become too influenced by what they're seeing outside. They get distracted. They don't have focus. As a famous man once said, spiritual progress is determined by one's ability to focus on wanted thoughts by shutting out unwanted thoughts. The more you become able to shut out unwanted thoughts, and the more you become able to focus on wanted thoughts, that's what determines your success. Okay? And the truly successful have this powerful resolve to have and act. You need both. You can't just have one or the other. You've got to have both inner intention and outer intention. Your resoluteness to have must be matched with, I'll do anything that's necessary. I'll do what's necessary for it. I'm willing to do it. I'm going to have it, or I'm going to die trying. When your resolve is that strong, nothing can stop you. And the 3 keys we talked about: number 1, finding clarity, finding your what and why. Number 2, identity, becoming that version first, being that version first that would experience that, and letting reality catch up. When you be first, you assume the internal world first, and you hold that internal world until the external world catches up. So this leads me to that 3rd point, holding that internal world. Most people can't do that. They become inconsistent. That's why they see revenue inconsistencies in their businesses, or they see inconsistencies in their lives. They have a good relationship which quickly turns sour. All of these inconsistencies happen because internally they're not consistent. When the challenges come, they can't maintain their state. This is what leads me to number 3. Having this independent attitude. Not having it be fed by the external world. My life takes care of me. This is all part of the process. Failure is just temporary. You learn something from it. When you don't let failure become a word in your vocabulary, it ceases to exist. There is no such thing as failing. There's just success and the lessons that lead you to success. And with that, I conclude this video. Thank you so much for watching. I sincerely hope this was helpful. Please leave me a comment letting me know what you thought of this. If you'd like me to make more videos like this, what other video topics you'd like to see me talk about. And if you're new to the channel, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and hit that little bell there so you're notified of any new video that I put out. As I mentioned before, the free one-to-one consult with me and my team is now available. Just click on the link in the description below to sign up for that, and let's see if we can help you. Who we typically work with are people who are entrepreneurs, who want to take their businesses to the next level. They're stuck at a certain revenue level, or they find that they have this revenue roller coaster, right? One month they do really well, next month they go back down, and they can't quite keep it consistent. And what they're seeing is this is happening not because they don't have the right tactics and strategies, they know what to do. But internally, they have all of these personal issues. Internally, they're inconsistent. They don't know how to keep themselves at that state all the time. And because of that, these problems are reflecting out into their businesses, other areas of their lives as well. If that sounds like you, I invite you to click on the link to sign up for the free consult, and I'll see you there. The free Facebook group is open for you to take advantage of. The link for that is also in the description. Thank you so much for watching. Till next time. Peace!